All right, ladies and gentlemen, we talked about it. We got 5 sets to get through. Time to get down and dirty here in set number 1. We're going to be seeing hitboxes starting off on the demo dog. Across the way, we're going to be seeing X-Eyes, iPick, Seth, and Swatter trying to set the tone on the survivor side here. Starting off set number 1 for one of these two teams between Sequence and OBOY. Over the course of these next 5 sets, they'll be playing their last games of the winter circuit here. So I'm sure they're feeling a little bit of that pressure, a little bit getting ready to head in here. But, you know, Dyer, we talked about the excitement, getting to see the demo dog, and it's finally here.
It is finally here on the Cold Tower, the map in competitive Dead by Daylight. Look at that wonderful blue of the Macmillan estate. I don't know how you feel, Q, but whenever we are playing on a Macmillan map in Comp DVD, it just feels so right. And we do see a very interesting perk build here, the Agitation and the Forced Penance. So anticipating the great teamwork from Team Sequence, but also making sure that the hook stages will be granted on the side where you have your generators. And that was a very great zoning attempt from our Demogorgon, but gets a little bit confused here, loses Swatter for a second, or X-Eyes, sorry, and that stone going to hit him, but that was just a millimeter, telling us already that this is going to be an exciting game here. The chase continues towards this side of the map, not the best tile here. It's going to be one of these 4 lanes, but playing the palette very, very wonderfully. It's now dropped, but getting a little bit confused. Access is taking the hit, runs towards the main building. Yes, Corrupt Intervention is right there, so you do allow your team to go for the active generator. If you go down here, up at the top side, then actually a bigger issue.
Yeah, there is something, though, I do want to point out. Even though this first chase may be taking a little longer here, Dyer, we're throwing a lot of resources up in this Corrupt side of the map where we can probably anticipate the game's going to end, right? Because we more than likely we already have 1 gen done. That's going to be the one that's more middle of the map. We're going to start working and cranking those gens back by Shack as well, and means those chases later in the game, they're going on up in that, especially that top right corner. They're not going to have much to work with. So right now it's going to be important for the survivors that are on those generators. They need to make sure that they can get them finished before this chase ends, because we're throwing a lot of pallets and we've pretty well depleted all the resources on this right side.
And these resources on the Cold Tower are quite rare, so you have to do a very careful job with them and how you handle them. We do see, however, that Forced Penance is coming in clutch here. iPick is going to take the hit for the teammate. They're both running towards the top side now, but the decision is going to follow X-Eyes here, so still going to be in a difficult spot here. Pallet has been thrown, so you have to rotate over towards this one. Tries to fake the window, doesn't work out, so we are running into the open, holding W, but that's going to be the down eventually. The punishment at 2 generators so far. Agitation coming in clutch now will be interesting if he reaches a special hook that could support him. And Q, it seems to be actually the hook in front of the main building, which would be a huge potential for the killer here, saving the 3 gen on the top side.
Yeah, the only question though is one of those gens, I think was one of the ones we just peered in on, right? Had a decent amount of progress. You got to make sure you can control the 3 gen that you do still have up here, because we know the resources pretty well have been all depleted. If we happen to push somebody off this gen and they go into that pallet or into that jungle behind us, you'd be able to at least get rid of that. But you have found iPick here. That's your survivor who took the 4 tenants earlier, which means they haven't been able to heal, and they're now retreating to this right side of the map where you have no resources. All they can do is just hold Shift W, but they don't have anything to work with. Should be easy down here. Eric's gonna come in, and you can just simply replace this hook right back in front of that main building. Keep controlling your gen situation up here.
Yeah, that's a very, very great work here from our killer. And this is once again a good example, right? The early game didn't look that strong. The first chase was quite great, but there you see also the value of an agitation. If you are able to control the location where the hook is, then you have a good work for you. But the survivors are trying to counter it with a quick unhook, and that actually works out. Hitboxes wasn't expecting Sequence to be that quick, and now we are all the way back towards the shack area here. iPick is going to find himself being tunneled, but he should make it towards this pallet. There's another one waiting on the location that players would call 6 here, and it's quite a safe one, so you can drop it. But iPick actually going for the longer loop here, cuts a little bit of additional time from the killer, now dropping it late. That results in a stun, so taking a little bit of extra time here as well. And knowing Sequence, I do believe that generator number 4 should be ready to pop any second here.
Yeah, and was able to actually get the vault in, fakes the vault twice, because he could jump into the locker as well, which is going to force the grab here, but we've already seen a 4th gen pop. I would imagine our survivors have been able to crank these things out quite a bit. We know this one that's going to be by this hook, sitting close to that 75% marker, but they have broken up the 3 gen up on that top side of the map. That was a pain residence hook though, so we know the gen that's by the hook is the gen that, at least for now, had the most progress at the time of hook. So you have an idea of where your most pressure is, but you still have 3 fully healthy survivors, 2 of them fresh hook. Right now, Hitbox has got to make something happen.
Yeah, Hitboxes needs to get the next move here because Swatter, Axis, and Seth also all healthy, so the pressure across the survivor team doesn't really work, and it feels like there's the pressure now on the shoulders of the killer, and once accidentally onto the pallet, he is now going back to take a look onto the hook, but Sequence now with a completely different strategy, trying to throw the killer off and mixing it up between quick unhook and waiting a little bit, and what a great juke here by Swatter, getting the window as well. That cuts more time from the killer. Meanwhile, the unhook Ipik with the borrowed time, so even the survivor not injured has the potential to make another hit here. So, and jukes again! Wow. Sequence on an absolute run here in the first set. This is impressive, Q.
Yeah, and this is a tough situation here because the question becomes, do I want to tunnel Ipik or do I go for the Nia, who I haven't hooked yet? They're going to be worth the most for you right now in this situation, so that's why you're not going for the elimination. Nice body block coming in here for Swatter as well, which is going to prolong this chase. Maybe even gives us a chance to get this 5th generator pop. We haven't seen Excise for a while, so they could just be simply holding them one, hitting them skill checks. You know, well, there they are now, at least going to push themselves into this chase. Another broken status, thanks to that forced penance there, but now you've got 2 people going back towards this bottom side of the map where there's really not much there, but that's going to be a big swing. Remember, Swatter is also another one of your players that's fresh hook. With the
adrenaline coming out, this is... Can Sequence make the list a little bit shorter, please? We have seen the complete resources of great plays that are possible in Comp DBD, all back to back, quick saving to counter, long waiting to waste time, jukes, 360s, now an adrenaline play, and Swatter eventually going down. Just no, but there's no end game perk as well. There's no way out, so we just see Swatter being killed here. That is going to be a nice fresh hook to the end, so that's actually a 10-point swing, 7 for the sacrifice, 3 denied from the escape, and that feels kind of like an emergency solution here because Sequence was about to turn this into a very, very horrible result.
Yeah, I think you did a really good job prioritizing your targets there at the end. You knew you needed to find yourself a fresh hook, get the most points on your side, prevent the most points on the other side here, and that is going to at least minimize the difference in the lead on the side of Sequence. So they only have a 1-point lead here after this game, and usually you like to have a pretty good difference. Really good job here as far as I mean, really coming out and doing what you need to do.
Yeah, this is one point after the first trial. Gives us a good idea of what we have to expect, and OBOY can be really happy about this 1-point lead because, as we said, this was a last-second take for the killer, an emergency solution to take a few more points in the very end. We are going to switch the sides, ladies and gentlemen, and we will be back after a short break. Alright everyone, welcome back with the bad news. We have Excite still on the Demogorgon, Dimaula Magic Rocket and Hitboxes, but unfortunately OBOY dropped to 13 points and had to reveal their builds as they had to replace one adrenaline with a different perk. Duplicate perks are not allowed, same for duplicate survivors, and that's now a huge setback because OBOY was just coming from a game where they got a fresh hook last second in their game, Sequence in an absolute fantastic spot, and when then now about to challenge Sequence in the second trial, you are taking a -2 penalty. So we will see if OBOY can recover from that. We have seen them with quite a good start, but we have also seen Excise with a lot of experience on the Demogorgon recently, and Corrupt Intervention is this time not offering him the best one, because actually Q, the top right generator on the coal tower is missing.
I mean, that could work to your advantage if the survivors don't recognize that right away, though, right? Like if they end up kind of cranking more, trying to work on these top side gens and they end up kind of forcing themselves in that bottom side 3 gen. We don't see it happen very often on Cold Tower, but it could potentially work in your favor. We are going to see, actually greeting this first pallet over here. Could have potentially gotten the M1, but anticipating the double back by side. Really good work by our survivor here. We are, of course, going to be seeing the survivor zoned out to the backside of our main building here. And I don't think Exeyes wants to waste any more time. Instead, they're going to put pressure on this middle gen here.
Pressure on the middle gen is really, really good work though, because this one can be chained kinda into a setup on the top side, kinda towards the bottom side, so it's a really, really important one. And we do see now that they are working around this rock here, so it's going to be the pallet being thrown now. The Magic doing a good work here, gets a little bit of distance and moves over towards this corner here, trying to dodge a little bit, but that's going to be the first injury into the game. Q, our Demogorgon looks like being in a very good spot here.
Yeah, the Demogorgon definitely seems to be off into a good spot. The question, though, is can you follow that up into a good down, right? Because if you continue to see these safe plays by the survivor, yeah, you end up burning a lot of resources, but we had just seen from the survivor side of the sequence that if you can at least follow that up and make sure that you're very efficient on the gens, it kind of works out in your favor, right? So, anyone else? I don't have the speed.
We do see now that we are back towards the shack here. 2 survivors injured, so that's now going to be the chance for Exeyes to put a little bit of pressure onto OBOY here. Generator in the distance, and that's going to be the Magic going down here quite early, I would say, though. Still a very, very good early game for Exeyes, and not really the pressure OBOY was trying to set up here, especially when you're reloading into the game with a 2-point penalty. That's another generator being lost right there. So OBOY fighting against it. I really like how efficient they are, and now they are in the great spot. The generators that need to be repaired are cross-map from the survivor that is hooked here, so the pressure is split. The killer has to make a decision at any point, so that could work out in their advantage here.
Yeah, now you got to make sure that you're really able to be careful around this hook here too, right? Because you've invested quite a bit of time. You've lost 2 gens. You can't let this unhook for free. And you can actually even see from the side of Exeyes here, not overcommitting, right? Wanting to make sure they can keep a good eye on this hill over here, make sure no one's getting over this way. The only problem then also still becomes if they allow the survivor to hang, they may still be able to pump out a gen or 2. So Exeyes is in a difficult position because it looks like they may actually be prioritizing those gens over friends here, Dyer.
That would be a great decision, though. Sacrificing the Magic for all the work that can be done on the top side is definitely a good one. We do see a portal being placed, and our killer faking to go back, and that works onto Daimao, who expected the killer to go back towards the hook, then came back a little bit too early. What a great mind game by Exeyes here, baiting the survivor into free. M1 now being back onto the hook, realizing that no survivor is coming through, but there are 2 injured survivors now, so OBOY overall has to be way more careful. Can't take body blocks that often in their team anymore, and if they would take time to reset, they are losing a good amount of time here instead of repairing the generators. So it's going to be a more difficult task here. A is still on the hook, hitting these skill checks like an absolute pro, but the team realizes that it's not going to happen. Rocket pulling back from saving the teammate, but that costed a little bit of time as well. Going down there and trying with 1 survivor is going to be a little bit of lost time, and now Exeyes can travel back towards the generators, but 2 of them getting completed here. So we do have a very, very strong one, and it seems like after he tried to portal, it doesn't work anymore for him.
Yeah, it looks like it did also get closed, maybe potentially, but man, talk about look at the gen spread too. You've got gen on the top side, 2 on the bottom side of your map here. A tough situation here for you if you're Exeyes. Yeah, it's a 3v1. You need to hope you can find this reset location. If you can find one of these injured survivors, and it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. Oh, actually, Rocket breaking out the jukes here, able to prolong this chase a little bit longer than the first M1 hasn't come out until now, which might allow enough time for either the last generator or the reset. We're not sure which. We do have to remember, though, we haven't taken chase much up on this top side of the map, so there should still be some resources over here for Rocket. Rocket isn't quite quite going to be able to make it to the pallet space. Any pallet save enjoyers around? If not, this is going to be a hate basement hook, and it looks like Rocket going to be going to the basement to pay for their sins.
Yeah, and now it's going to be a difficult task to get this survivor out of the basement, right? Talking about 6 stages here, I'm not sure if that would be enough with the penalty they received. They have 50% on the generator right there. One survivor is trying to sneak over, but it seems like Axis is quite happy for the moment to just regress the generator on the first floor, and now going back towards checking the area if a survivor is rotating in. The hill is kind of distracting for Axis here. You don't have the best line of sight towards the midsection of the coal tower, and we do see that Hitboxes is using exactly this to his advantage. Rotated in the perfect moment when Axis couldn't see him because of the hill. Now he realizes, but the portal is coming in clutch, going back towards the main building, and I do believe portaling is far faster than Hitboxes down towards the basement. They will get the unhook, but they won't make it back out. Hitboxes is paying the price for this trade-off, so that's going to be the next hook stage. The generator should be ready to go in a few seconds here, but the stages are adding up towards sequence score there. So, oh boy, still with a ton of work, and I do believe they need all 3 survivors out of the door here.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think with that third fresh hook here, you aren't allowed to leave anybody behind. The good news here is Rocket is the one survivor who still kept the adrenaline after the reset, so that benefited them there, but you need to be able to go to the basement and, you know, they aren't going to be able to see it yet, but you and I see it. There's that little haste status over on that right side of the screen. We see that perk lit up at the bottom right-hand corner, which means that these downs will be a lot easier to acquire, but we see Rocket has actually been able to find the totem. This is big because you also have Daimao also working on a door. It's okay if you allow a second stage, I believe, as long as you get all 3 survivors out the door. The problem becomes you cannot allow a trade, so it is all going to come down to the save attempt.
The save attempt must come through very, very quickly here. They are going for the heal, not knowing about the no one escapes death just yet. Hitboxes hitting second stage down there.
Oh, Rocket
31 to... Oh, they cleansed it. True. I'm so busy with calculating the stages there. True. I did not hit that, but Hitbox is now hitting the second stage to 31 to 23 is making it quite... yeah, it is impossible for them with 6 stages. Would be 29. That's exactly the penalty queue that has been deducted from OBOY. So 2 adrenalines, one of them worked out. They are trying though, because it would still be great to have a very close score here, right?
Yeah, I mean, especially because we talked about the fact how important this set was, right? Now it looks like we are going to be dropping. I think if it weren't for the 2-point penalty, if they were to get everyone out, it does look like we are probably going to end up still seeing one more hook here. Even trying to see the body block with the player back on the hook and trying to use that sprint burst as well. But this is a really good shit from the side of Excited, because not only are you going to be able to get that survivor, but you have one other survivor that's still left in the basement being Daimao. But that's going to be the sacrifices there. Rocket going to get out. We'll have to also assess the penalty in the background and give a quick chat to them. But very unfortunate. It looked like OBOY was off to a good start, and then a couple of issues, and the set has fallen apart here.
Yeah, the set has fallen apart with the potential rage quit coming in from Daimao there, so we have to check onto that with our team. It would be actually quite horrendous if that was an intentional one. So we are doing the necessary checks. We will update you with the campfire chat, ladies and gentlemen, but we will go on a short break here. Alright everyone, welcome back. Here we are, OBOY with Obi, Le Magic Rocket, and Hitboxes still not getting back onto the lorry. I don't think that character is returning for Hitboxes. Facing Volga though, what a name in competitive Dead by Daylight, especially on the Artist. One of the most experienced killers when we are talking about skill, experience, and control over the map. And control over the map is quite important, especially on the Wrecker's Yard, because it's a quite punishing, quite small map, and especially if you're not watching out with the shack, you can find yourself in a difficult spot very early. Let's take a look onto the perks here. We do see a head-on coming out together with an agitation once again. onto the potential to go for the hooks he would really like to see, potentially trying to reach the shack there. That's a very early application of the birds as well, so Volga not joking around.
Yeah, but you do see, though, Volga also not only going to be able to get to 1-1, but our survivors are going to try to at least do their best to prolong this chase. The only problem, though, is now you have two separate injured survivors. So the question you'll be forced with as far as here the survivors, do I want to try and reset, or do I just simply sit on the gens? Because if I do that, I get caught out of position later. That's going to get quicker down, and we know that these chases need to be long. We're at least working our way around the shack here. The Magic going to be able to work their magic, make their way across the pallet just in time before the swing comes in. And even with the birds still being on them, going to be able to avoid the shotgun there. So that does mean that you'll see that they might even see Volga have to break this chase and at least pick this generator over here. Maybe even try and get a little bit of eruption value since this one injured survivor is still back here. But you'll notice that injured survivor's changed. There's a broken status on Rocket. That's a for the people. I don't quite understand it, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure as well. Rocket is now getting back for the birds. He doesn't see the killer, so that's going to be an unfortunate down now. The Magic's still around as well. That could be a very, very quick one. They seem to looking at the builds. They're trying to save the lucky break here. That's what they are trying to do here. So a very tactical play coming out from OBOY. Not really working out here with the down and the injury we are having now, but still a good idea, and I quite like it. And the snipe right there. Now please tell me that the Magic's not actually going down, but they have jumped into a locker there to quickly get rid of the crows. So danger under control basically. OBOY with a good early game, one generator in exchange for the first hook is a good trade, but it doesn't seem like we have a lot of progress besides that. So whoever is in next chase still has the responsibility for a good run here.
Yeah, I think when you look at how long that first chase was, it'd be easy to say, hey, that's a good first chase for the survivor squad, but it did require multiple times where our survivors were getting off those gens, coming in for those protection hits, and then also the for the people play as well. So man, it's going to be a tough situation here for the survivors from OBOY. They need to find a way to really crack into these generators and hitbox. Actually going to find a set of birds from across the map. Don't know if this shotgun will be able to hit in time. Oh, actually hitboxes get sniped from across the map, which now means hitboxes wouldn't even be able to be safe to come in for the save, and more than likely going to be requiring the survivors to need to now go for resets, getting off those gens. And I would say Volga in a really good spot as far as control in this trial.
Now, talking about control, actually, Volga with the perfect control, even though he's standing at the hook, right? Usually you say camping comes with the price of sacrificing control, but two survivors are injured. Obi receives crows as well, and the snipe is not going to hit though because the lock is helping out once again. But for the fact that Volga was tactically waiting at the hook, pushing Rocket into the second stage, there was a lot of control across the Rackers yard, and the price of this control can be seen in the bottom left corner. Still 4 generators to go for Team OBOY, with Rocket about to die here, and 2 survivors resetting is not going to be the save Rocket would need right now. So we might see OBOY being cut down to 3 survivors only in just a few seconds here, and that would give Sequence a ton of control over the second set here.
Yeah, especially because we're talking about, not like this, getting caught coming in for the save, was trying to be sneaky, not going to be the case, which means now you've already gotten yourself one more fresh hook. Don't let this go here, don't allow for the early hook, trying to be patient, that's going to now be confirmed. And now the injury as well, and Volga in such a good spot. It really just feels like the wheels are starting to come off here, Dyer.
It does look like, and it does look like OBOY is not able yet to shake off set number 1. It's still a little bit going downhill. It's good that we have a best of 5 here and the second trial here in the Rackers yard as well, because OBOY on the killer side has pulled back a lot of games. So if you prioritize the generators now, try to get as many points right there and maybe go for a crazy killer performance, you can still balance that out as Team OBOY here. And they are known as fighters. They are known as a team that can face challenges, so they need to pull back their power here. Volga going for the Nancy now, found Obi here resetting in the pallet, quite alone, and that's going to be the zoning away from this tile, takes the crows as well close to the hook. It would be really difficult if this survivor is going down right next to it. That's going to be the down right here. Hitboxes is still on the hook. This generator is progressing with eruption, and I think Volga can just go for the suck here.
Yeah, it's an easy decision here as well, because you know that even if they were sticking on a gen, we've been seeing really good map awareness on the side of Volga, doing a good job of being able to place those birds to disrupt the gens as well. You can see the Magic starting to work their way over here around the Pride Rock. The only problem being, though, is the Magic is hurt, so of course those grunts of pain, an easy indicator as far as location, looks like actually having been found here as well. And even though you might have Shack Pallet up here, might be able to prolong the chase a little bit, I don't think there's too much time. I think we are going to be seeing the 4K with just 2 gens complete.
Yeah, 4 points for Team OBOY, potentially 28 would be the score for Team Sequence, but they are putting a little bit of a run here, and that something like this, something simple like this can make a difference, right? You can prove that you are able to run the killer. You can prove that you are better than Team Sequence, and that's energy you need to pull it back. And there's also still the chance for a bleed out if this run is long enough. That would be just 1 point, but in case of a tie, it could still matter. So Le Magic is now going to be thrown onto a hook here, but our other survivor has the potential to at least deduct 1 point from the score of Team Sequence. So when we are talking about the tie, it would be broken, but Obi hasn't made it really far because this run wasn't the longest, and there we see that it's going to be the confirmation by Volga. So the 4K coming out 28-4, the score after this trial. And Q, I don't know who's taking the responsibility on the artist for OBOY, but this is one hell of a challenge.
Yeah, I do not envy the position of whoever it is going to be coming out for OBOY here. I mean, you mentioned even if the bleed out would have happened, it wouldn't have been enough where you could have even allowed a 3rd gen to pop, right? I mean, you still would have had to try to get with only allowing 2. You need to be able to come out and match that intensity, and something tells me that a Sequence is coming out here and picking the artist. It's not just about how strong their killer is, right? It's also going to be that their team feels very comfortable on this map against that killer. And to think that a team like Sequence at this stage, knowing that they are, as you mentioned previously, 2 series wins away from the grand finals, I don't see them letting up.
Yeah, see, I'm still having my hope for Team OBOY because they have turned matches like this in the past, but it does require a lot of energy today, and it does need to start with this killer coming out for Team OBOY in just a few seconds here in the winter circuit, because you need something. And I think even if you lose the set point, if you would be able to still 4K, this can be a sign. This can be the energy, the motivation, the mindset push, because we still have a lot of sets to be played. Set number 3, yes, would be a lot of pressure. Set number 2 is under a lot of pressure as well, but it's still possible. And if there's a team that has done it in the past, then it's Team OBOY. 28-4 will be a big challenge, but they can potentially do it. Stay with us to find out what OBOY is bringing up in the upcoming trial.
All right, and we had talked about before the break, we didn't envy the person in the position coming in here for OBOY. It does look like it is going to be a Le Magic looking to try and shut this game down before the 3rd gen pops. On the opposite side, Exeyes, iPick, Seth, and Swatter are going to be the 4 survivors out here from Sequence. I'm sure they're going to be trying to do more than just simply complete 3 generators. I'm sure they're going to want to try and make sure that they can keep the pedal down to the metal, but knowing that that's got the win condition definitely has to feel you have you feeling pretty free and loose heading into this trial. Wouldn't you agree, Dyer?
I would 100% agree, because if you are able to keep the pressure up and complete far more than the 3 needed generators, you are going into set number 3 with such a good mindset and such a high motivation to just go all the way through into the winning set, or basically the match point. But Le Magic is a very, very experienced killer as well, has played and practiced a lot of artists, so Let's see what he's bringing out onto the Arrakis Yard. And we do catch Swatter, a competitive Steve, and we also catch a Seth out of position here, so that's going to be a very quick injury just a few seconds into this trial here, and this setup doesn't look like the strongest available on the Arrakis Yard, so you have to do something risky quite early, potentially sending a survivor over. So I like how OBOY is starting this.
Yeah, definitely off to a good start. You need to be able to follow it up, though. You were even able to get the birds detached here. Gives you at least a little bit of the ability to close this. This is not going to try and send any additional birds out. Instead, going to wait to try and get the easier hit through the window, but not going to set up for it just quite yet. Those birds are going to at least lock down this loop here at the TNL for just a moment. This should allow for at least the down, but the question is if you can even buy 10, 15, 20 seconds. It's extra time to start cranking into these generators over here, and you can actually see, looks like we're breaking chase.
We are breaking chase. Seth is now going into the corner though. Edge map Andy not going to be with the freedom here, but wasting a lot of time. That was still a very good run here for Team Sequence in the early game. We should see a couple of generators coming off. There's 70% on this one, 90% on this one, so Sequence being very toxic here with the gen rush. That's definitely a minus rep afterwards of this game, but they are doing Sequence things, right? Efficient, punishing. Every single second is turned into a percentage in the generator.
Yeah, doing a fantastic job here. The question now becomes, as far as for our killer, where do we want to put this pressure? We're going to at least do a quick kick here, maybe try and capitalize on not only the Call of Pride, but try and get some eruption value here, at least before it gets nerfed. But we are going to notice quickly going to double back over towards the unhook. Smart decision here. You know, this one player already has less hook stages left before you can turn this thing into a 3v1, but you can see Sequence already gets one of the 2 gens that are required to at least meet the tie condition, one of the 3 needed in order to meet the win condition. So Sequence still being able to be very, very efficient here, not even needing the bird, just a quick M1, and that's going to be a second down.
Second down with a little bit.
She slaps him with the D.
Eruption and a Q moment as well from Team Sequence here. Great decisive strike, still wasting a little bit of time into the head-on. Not on the firecracker as well. Yeah, hello Team Sequence, turning a normal decisive strike into the destruction of the opponent killer, and then running it all the way out with now also the healthy survivor, the injured survivor, not even being attacked anymore. What a spin by Sequence here, turning the game by 180 and now having so much control back onto the survivor side here with 2 generators completed already. This was such a beautiful play.
And then even the better plays in there by iPick, right? Even with the swarm on him, is able to do a good job, jumps in the locker, builds plenty of distance. Is going to take the M1 over at this little filler palette here, but this is over on a portion of the map where it's kind of away from a couple of gens, allowing some progress into those ones across the way here. There's going to be the 3rd gen that pops, so that does confirm the result here. But I would anticipate that Sequence isn't going to be happy with just those 3 gens done. They're going to try and see if they can get 6, 7, 8 stages out here.
Yeah, they will go for as many stages as possible, potentially going for the second head-on here as well. So we do see now that Seth is back, was injured before, then saved by the teammates. He's trying to fake a little bit around the pallet here, actually not dropping it, managing to keep that resource alive, using the injury and the speed boost granted from it to make a little bit of distance. Dodges this crow here as well, and is working with the worst tiles on the Arrakis Yard, getting the crow application and just pulling edge map Andy 2.0 now, going into this corner right here, wasting as much time as possible, dodging the crow even, and going into the corner eventually. So that's going to be more seconds being lost for our killers, 70% here once again, and they're just so impressive onto these generators. We will actually see them leaving the trial in potentially under a minute here.
Yeah, the only thing is, do you happen to be able to, if you are our killer here, the Magic, can you find someone with some birds? Birds get attached to at least 1, but that is the 4th gen that is now complete. They aren't going to still be on anybody thanks to that locker tech that we see so often against the Artist. You are able to locate Excise. Back here over by this generator, has a whole bunch of progress, but there it is, generator number 5 now complete. Every survivor is still in the trial. We are chasing an injured Adam though. That's going to be a down in a pallet space. Not sure if anyone's around, but the unhook came in across the way as well.
Cannell coming across as well, so a lot of work being done from Team Sequence, and the pallet save as well, together with the firecracker this time. So it was actually the perk earlier that just absolutely juicing here on the side of Team Sequence. Now for the people as well, so Seth is taking the aggro, the person that is not counting as many stages as I pick as the fresh hook here. Sequence having the entire handbook of competitive Dead by Daylight prepared for us is a beautiful tutorial here. And looking at that, I wouldn't be surprised if Sequence is going all the way into the grand final. Even another greeting to the killer, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4 survivors out of the door.
Talk about a toxic bully boy squad here from Sequence, just absolutely running from the word go. That has been probably one of our more entertaining, I feel like, stompings we've seen in a while. Sometimes we just see where it's just simple, they get the gens done, but that was fun to watch.
That was so fun to watch. It was amazing. Let's take a quick look back onto the campfire chat here. Set number 3 is coming in now. Q, you talked about it. You said before going into this match, if Sequence is doing a little bit more than 2 generators, I think that would be really good for them. Now I'm asking you, how much did Sequence actually do in this game?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough here, right? Because now it not only does OBOY feel deflated, but these Sequence survivors are going to be right back out here setting the tone on this Blight set, which we had talked about. Even though it might be OBOY's pick, we felt like favored Sequence just a little bit more. So they've got to find a way to compartmentalize here, take those last 2 sets, throw them out the door and say, hey, we're in a best of 3, but I need to win the first one here.
Yeah, it's really insane. And the bad news basically is that Sequence is staying on the survivor side in the Blight. They've just absolutely cranked out a 4-man escape with blinds and pallet saves and for the people and just everything that you need, head-on saves, and now they're playing survivor again, so they are able to stay in their current routine and in their current dynamic, and now it's OBOY still coming out on the killer side. So I would almost think about switching it up, the killer, because I feel like LeMagic would be in a difficult spot here.
Yeah, I think it's tough because I think actually is LeMagic normally their Blight player, or does Daimao play any of their killer side?
Yeah, Daimao would usually be the one that is taking the Blight responsibility. Yeah, it would have been Daimao. Daimao is suspended because of the rage quit earlier, so they need to find someone else to take this job, and that's the bad thing, right? OBOY has put themselves in such a difficult situation.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be tough. They need, I don't know who it is that's going to come out here, but the first chase needs to be very, very brief, because you know that Sequence is going to be coming out all cylinders firing after that last trial we just saw there on the Artist. Are they going to be able to turn this thing around and pull a reverse sweep? Will they at least be able to pull off a set here if we're looking out on the side of OBOY? We'll have to find out right after a quick break.
All right, everyone, welcome back. Excise, I pick Seth and Swatter after a double timeout by OBOY, and then on Team Sequence facing Obi. That was not the Blight that was planned for today, but Daimao has received a match suspension after intentional disconnecting in set number 1, and we are aware that one of our moderators gave a little bit of a false information, so we are just correcting that. It has indeed been an intentional disconnect. It was double-checked by staff and admitted by the player, so there is zero doubt about this being intentional. So just correcting the information. We apologize for the wrong info in our chat. We are back on the Blood Lodge, this time Astaroth's environment, but a little bit larger and a little bit more challenging for the killer side. The Blight is trying to find the first survivor here on the top right side, usually a spawn point in the corrupted area, and the brutal strength is an interesting decision here.
Yeah, I'm wondering what's up with that. I'm wondering if they're just hoping that maybe the survivors are going to be playing more safe and go so you can kind of zone a little bit quicker there. I'm not exactly sure, but we can see another +10 wood added across the face here. And now the question becomes here, if you can get this first down, how quickly are you able to find the second? Because it's not just about the first pressuring, because we know that the side is sequenced. They're going to be already cracking into those gens down on that bottom side of the map. Half of Corrupt Intervention has already been expired here as well. It's actually interesting to see that now the Ace is going to be heading that way. We're seeing potential second person moving over this way. Big Size tries to get to the pallet space, isn't going to be able to do so. You see some scratch marks, tried to have a pallet save Enjoyer. Now you might be able to build up some pressure here with the Slug Dire.
Yeah, this is already a great option, and we can see that Obi is not just playing a normal Blight game, right? It's a Blight game that is played with a 2-0 in the back, so you need to be a little bit riskier. Unfortunately, he's not able to go for any injury right here, so it's just going to be the pickup onto Axize. And once again, the pallet save by Team Sequence here, just the repeat of what they have done on the Ruckus Yard already. That's going to be now the next survivor being in chase here, going for a little bit of an extra bump, but not hitting it as well. Swatter is going to stay alive, so more and more seconds being taken here. You can tell that now the planned Blight of Team OBOY is maybe missing here a little bit with the experience. Onto that killer back and forth onto this tile, and it works out. Great mind game though by Obi, immediately pulling it back, but the generator is lost as a punishment.
Yeah, you only lose one, but you can't help but imagine that we probably have a second, maybe even a third, getting relatively close. Like, there's the second one there, actually, as I'm talking about. I wanted to also quickly reflect back to that pallet save, because we did see Obi try and check the one side of the pallet. Went out, looked to the left, but never checked behind him. I'm pretty sure that's where that second survivor was that was able to come in for the save, which is pretty unfortunate because it prolonged that chase. Now everyone's reset here as well. We had talked about the importance of being able to come out and put pressure down, and unfortunately it's Sequence who has been able to do just that.
Sequence playing an absolute amazing game right here. We do see that there's the next survivor being found, but they were holding W away from Obi, and Obi is now going cross-map Blood Lodge to go for a tunnel, and Sequence has an answer for that as well. It's going to be for the people here. Obi not finding the survivor after the rushes. 4 tokens need to be gained back, so that takes a little bit of time as well. We do need to see what Ace is able to do here, who just took the for the people, and he's able to vault in time. So this is going to be a swing and a miss, and not losing this mind game either. So Axize on an absolute great run here, just wasting as much time as possible, is eventually going down. But that's a trade you're happily taking when you're on Team Sequence here.
Yeah, you'll take that all day long, because now because of that, you are going to have the ability to have a little bit more hand time. You know, those first 2 generators got completed in pretty close sequence to one another, but you can't help but imagine if we might have a third, fourth, getting pretty close here at this point, right? It's been a little while. We've only ever seen only an additional survivor, which means 2 have been pretty well free to crank into the gens. Now get blast minded. Got him. And you're going to see over here as well that iPick as well is just about finished on the gen. I mean, our survivors are doing a pretty good job right now.
And I do believe that Sequence felt as great as you just felt about this blast coin, because the mood and Sequence VC must be so good. They have the control of the game once again, which is difficult enough against an S-tier killer when we're talking about the Blight, right? Usually it's the killer having the control and dictating the survivor team what they can and what they can't do. But this Blood Lodge, especially with this non-working collision for Obi, is just turning into a training area of Team Sequence. They are pushing Obi around. They are deciding what to do. They are deciding where Obi is going to chase, and they don't feel pressure at all here. This one is going to work out as well. He's an absolute ninja now as well with the dodge. So iPick and friends dominating on the Blood Lodge.
Yeah, I mean, iPick just absolutely juicing right now. Got the sauce. And now Obi getting absolutely lost in it. We are going to see Obi, though, is going to go ahead and decide to break chase. Have the sound check over here, but there's going to be a gen actually completed in Obi's face. That's generator number 3. You were able to get an injured health state. The question is, are you going to be able to follow that up with the down? We're working around one of these filler pallets here, maybe potentially going to get a little bit of value out of that brutal strength just like this, so you can zone them out, go right into your rush, just like that. Able to get the next pallet down. Also going to go ahead and drop that. Hold that for me, my friend. And the question is, are you going to be able to find any more room, any more pallets? Because that's a down, but at least 4th gen's been popped.
4 generators have been popped. Seth going down here. That's just 3 stages so far, Q. That's an insane, and there's the final one already, and they are setting up the adrenaline play once again, now deciding there's no need for it because the unhook is just granted because Obi went cross map. So that's now going to be the final chase onto iPick here. So last survivor also not dropping the pallet at all. The adrenaline save is coming, the heal is coming out onto Seth there in the distance. So this could potentially be a 3-man escape by minimum, but knowing Sequence, it could be something crazy and they somehow get iPick cross map here.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see them try and put something together. If I had to guess, that door over here on the left side of where Obi was just looking, and we're looking at the bottom side of the map. So the right side of the map where a lot of our comp players would call 3. More than likely, that door is just about primed and ready to go. You've got 3 bodies that you can throw their way. Actually, iPick's going to get reset as well, which means you have 4 healthy survivors and a door open as well.
And there he is. There's the team. There's Team Sequence. And if they are 4 outing, a Blight on the Blood Lodge, the body block as well to make sure the collision doesn't work. But iPick is going down right here. Do we have a flashlight Andy around? That would be the absolute masterclass now. But they are going towards the exit gate. So at some point you are forced to go for it. That's going to be iPick onto the shoulders here. But it looks like we are going to see the hook. Now is the question, do you actually try to do something crazy here? We are going all the way into the corner of the top side, so Swatter could be reset in the meanwhile. iPick is a fresh hook. Do you just take this as Team Sequence or do you go back? We see 1 survivor resetting, 1 is already back in the map. That's going to be Seth already setting up for it. Yeah, right? You are trying to go for something here, and knowing how Team Sequence plays today, this could absolutely work, yeah.
Yeah, right now everyone's 1 hook too. So I mean, even if you get a trade, you're not losing any points. Now we are going to be seeing, since the unhook is going to be coming in here, trying to go for the ace, trying to use good bump logic. Excise is going to go down here. The question is, do we have any sort of resources for the save? Because we know that the flashlight user is the one that went down. Wasn't sure if maybe we had a flash bang available or anything like that. They get the trade. They're going to go ahead and leave now at this point because you're not getting any extra points.
Yeah, it was a great try and a great attempt here, and it would have been a huge reward if you go out with 4 survivors here on the Blood Lodge. Unfortunately not working. Good work by Obi here, preventing them from getting that. So we are staying with the 16-16, if that's the final score. Not entirely sure, but it does look, yeah, 16-16 should be right with the 6 stages we had there. But a tie on an ST killer is very rare because usually the killer is getting far more points than the survivor side. So Sequence still in an absolute winner run.
Yeah, I'd say Sequence definitely got to be feeling good about that. The question, though, becomes, we talked about heading into this series, Dyer, that oh boy does have some survivors with individual, like, strong mechanics in, like, that 1v1 environment, right? So if you can maybe juice up here to start things off, fight back and still be able to come up with a similar result, whether it's run it back or even come out with a win and force to set number 4, would definitely be huge. Otherwise, you're looking at oh boy playing their last trial here in the Winter Circuit. So we're going to have to find out if that's going to be the case here right after a break.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to OB Magic Rocket and Hitboxes facing iPick, and there will be a -2 and there will be a black card, but this black card is going to be handed to our team, and the -2 as well, because when it's a long day, a lot of lobby resets and crashes happen, the stream crashes, and we have a suspended player and everything like that, then staff is sometimes joining the train, and we made a little bit of an error on our end. It was not a banned combination. That's on us. So we apologize. We are back. Thank you for dealing with us. Q! That was the housekeeping from me, taking the blame in the name of the entire team. You are our external caster, so lead us in, my friend.
Hey, well, you know what? Either way, it almost kind of works out, I think, in both teams' favor. Look like we kind of had an early chase working out there. Might be just what oh boy needed as far as to be able to get one last extra life here. As far as to be able to force this thing into a set number 4. We do see that iPick has been able to very quickly move up into this top right-hand corner of the map. Has been able to find Obi back out here as well. Obi's going to try and be responsible prolonging this chase, but we're going to be seeing a very early M1 over here. Now you're stuck in a very precarious situation to stay over in this corner, even with the plus 10 wood added across the forehead here, plus the flashlight blind. You don't really have too far to go here, plus now you're actually taking this chase towards your uncorrupted gens.
And now Obi quick down here, so the early game quite rough for OBOY. Sequence playing out of their mind as in the other 5 trials here. iPick will now go into the middle of the Blood Lodge, trying to prevent this generator from being progressed further, which perfectly works. Hitboxes is dropping the pallet on the right side, so he's going to get a little bit of distance here, but the token should come back in time. Should be able to reach it, but doesn't go for anything risky here. So just taking the pallet out of the way, going back towards Snow. Actually staying here on this fun bus. I was expecting iPick to go back, as we've seen him with a tactical approach like that earlier, but Hitboxes is kind of putting him on a run right now. Very great counterplay from OBOY.
Yeah, you gotta keep in mind though, once you get away from this bus, especially if you were to move up towards that top right-hand corner of the map, we've already taken some chase, we've already gotten rid of some of our resources over there. So you gotta make sure that you can make a lot out of a little here, but we should be able to make it to the pallet here just in time. There it is, Shack pallet thrown at 4 generators here, but that is going to be a double vault back in, unfortunately. But the good news, at least now, is you are going to at least force iPick down to step through the window. You can make a little bit distance in the middle of the map, but we've only seen 1 gen pop so far. I can't help but feel like we're lagging a little bit in the objective department right now.
Yeah, and the objective department, I have to agree, the pressure feels a little bit low here, because the early game, especially with this run by Hitboxes, looks really, really good and really, really punishing, especially with getting rid of the, or able to dodge this one as well. We are staying at the fun bus, and that's unfortunately evolved into the killer, but Hitbox is still with a very, very great run. That's going to be the pickup. We are pre-cleansing the totems here, or going for an inner healing as well, so both can be combined here. You're getting rid of a potential endgame perk and also making sure you're having 1 additional reset in. We do see that this player has decisive strike available, so you can maybe make something happen here.
Yeah, it's also going to be interesting because this is a first hook. You got some time to hang here. Of course, on the 1 survivor, we do have a little bit of the additional slowdown thanks to that gift of pain there, which is actually going to slow this thing down just a little bit, but or slow down the objective, I should just say, as a whole a little bit here. But you've been able to find the magic. Question is, can you get yourself a quick down? Because if that's the case, you can put pressure down elsewhere. Also notice that save coming in across onto hit out boxes has already started. We know that that's the decisive strike player, but if iPick commits to this chase of the magic, it does mean that we're not going to have to worry about that for the rest of the trial. Oh, that's not true. I guess there's still the next hook. I don't mind. Don't mind me.
It's okay. The magic here, the injured survivor on the TNL, actually choosing up by holding W here. I expect by iPick, and with a nice fake on this window as well. So OBOY shining a little bit here just when they need it. 3rd generator now completed. iPick taking an extra bump here and getting the magic down onto the ground. Would have been huge if they were able to go for that one. As now going for the save here. What an impressive play by OBOY. Exactly what they were needing. We were saying it. Default gameplay won't bring you that far. The magic trying to dodge it, but going down just a few seconds later, but it still makes a little bit of difference, so maybe OBOY can somehow punish this.
Yeah, I mean, you do still have 3 fully healthy survivors everywhere, so you can split this pressure in the gen. There's a 4th gen that does actually pop, thanks to 2 members actually being back over here at the shack. I do believe also with that as well, we'll be able to tell a little bit better once iPick turns around here, but I think this gen spread pretty favorable here, especially with the big swing and a miss here from iPick at this point. Means you can kind of greed this pallet over here, buy a little bit of time for the objective, also let someone move in for the save, get stunned, stupid, plus 10 wood added to the face here as well. That should be able to allow enough distance to move to this next filler pallet. The question is, does iPick get to chase? The answer is no, but not even to worry about going back for the unhook. Instead, going to check in on this gen all the way at the top right of our map.
Going now back towards this one here. A little bit of progress on this generator. Actually not looking too bad, but Brian is called, so That's going to be a little bit of help here to regress the generator. We have a great triangle gen setup. Resets coming in as well. So, oh boy, playing this very tactical, playing it very calm. 3 stages so far. Q, I'm looking for an oh boy that has recovered from the first 5 trials. I'm looking on a team oh boy that is showing us why they are talented and why they were picked for the winter circuit. They might actually make this.
Yeah, you know, we had talked about how OBOY was one of those teams that is consistently consistent, and part of the things with consistency means when the bad shows up, the good usually follows up shortly after. The question is, can you make this good last for a while, right? You need to not only finish off this trial strong, you got to be able to duplicate this in the Doctor set. The good news will be your survivors will be the first ones out. They'll be feeling good, so hopefully they might be able to use that momentum there. That's going to be a swing. That's going to be a tag on the backside here as well. The question is, how close are we to generator number 5? Because we're working around this rock. That's going to be a big down here onto Obi. But there's 3 survivors cranking gen somewhere. Yeah, there it is, generator number 5.
This is insane. Obi is already a stage as well, so it's not the full 10-point swing. It's just 4 points for the 2 stages and 2 points tonight, so 6 points basically. iPic has to go for the exit doors here, realizes that as well as going all the way down towards the shack. Will they get that in time? That's the question here. Is interrupting the survivor here, going back now, finds the survivor here. Le Magic in the middle of the map, that was the survivor that has already been thrown onto the hook. We need Rocket, iPic. Rocket is the survivor you need. That's going to be hitboxes around as well. Now going to be back onto the Magic here. The exit gate about to be ready there. On the bottom side, this actually works out and Obi can be left behind. Oh boy, is turning it Q!
Oh, it looks like they're going to be able to make their way out the door unless you can connect this last rush double bump. That's not going to be the case, and that's going to be 3 survivors out the door.
This is insane. That's going to be, oh boy, against the odds with such an impressive performance here in trial number 6. That's going to be the lead for Team Oh Boy. They are fighting back. They are making it. They took it. It's going to be a 2-1 now for Team Oh Boy. Literally, Q, we've seen a horrible day from Team Oh Boy. Let's go back to the campfire chat real quick to look onto set number 4 here. We've seen a horrendous day from Team Oh Boy. Honestly, it was a horrible day. You lose set number 1. You take a suspended player because nothing went like you planned it, and someone was really dropping emotion and rage quitted. You're fighting in set number 2. You are getting, sorry for the wording, but you are getting quite dominance against you. 4 outed. Then you're loading into this one. You are having a nice time out. You're discussing your strategy. You're coming back against the odds, 6 stages. And then you're pulling this in trial 6 with the back to the wall in a 2-1. So we are actually moving forward towards the Doctor on the Rat Shop. Is this one of the craziest stories in comp history of a team coming back?
Yeah, this would definitely be a crazy surge here, especially if we were going to be able to see it. It would be the first time in a best of 5 where we've seen a comeback here, and especially seeing as we talked about it heading into this, that if Oh Boy was to pull it off, it was going to need to come off of the back of a strong start. And here now they potentially show that they could do it at any point in time. And also, kind of as I talked about in the middle of that, or towards the end of that trial there, these survivors for Oh Boy are going to be the ones who get to dictate the pace. I think it'd be harder if the survivors from Sequence were the ones doing that, but now you can put that pressure onto their killer and really set the tone. I'm excited for set 4.
Yeah, this is, I have my Oh Boy shirt back on. And
oh, okay. Yeah.
I predicted it, Q, yeah? I don't know what you had with Against the Odds, but I knew this is going to happen. No, actually, real talk. Oh Boy, with such an insane story, I think a lot of people were already setting Oh Boy is out here, and Against the Odds, maybe we were a little bit too quick as well, but I love being proven wrong, and this is exactly what Oh Boy has done countless times in the past, proving us wrong over and over again and ignoring any statistics and any hints in the score, making sure we are going into set number 4. So let's see that we have what we have in the store for sequence pick on the Doctor. It's going to be iPick or Excise, I assume, onto the Doctor. Red Shop is up. Oh Boy is going to feel great on the Survivor team, and we are going to see you after a short break.
All right, and it all potentially now comes down to this with their backs up against the wall, able to turn some heads and against I think what most of us would have predicted in set number 3, able to force a set 4. We're gonna be seeing Exize out here on the Doctor, Obi, LaMagic, Rocket, Hitbox is going to try and duplicate that success that they saw on the Survivor side in the Blight series, now on the Doctor set. And I feel like after the performance from the Survivors that they have to feel like they can come in here and really dictate the tone. The question really becomes within this first couple of chases. The Doctor, not quite the same killer as a Blight, right? Obviously, Blight has the ability to traverse the map quick, shut down chases pretty quick. Obviously, Doctor can shut down loops a little bit, but can't really end chases as quick as some other killers. So if you can do a good job also bringing in those body blocks, I think OBOY just might be able to force a set 5 here, Dyer.
Yeah, that could happen. However, Sequence is known for their Herman Carter. They are doing quite strong as killer and as survivors, but if you are able on the side of Team OBOY to have a wonderful early game and prevent the first down for a couple of time here, or a couple of minutes even, that would be really, really good. But it does look like that the first injuries are actually not taking too long. We are moving forward towards the Shack here, but that should be the injury Shack colored sacrificed here as well. So a little bit of distance, Sloppy Butcher applied, but after that it's now going to be quite a task. So potentially OBOY coming in early with the body blocks, rotating in to throw a little bit of additional resources from the team members in. We do see exactly that, so great teamwork here by Team OBOY, knowing exactly how important it is to delay the first down as long as possible.
Yeah, you definitely love to see it. Now you'll be able to use this big old long tile of main building if you want. You also are going to see Obi is going to break over into this tile, which is kind of baked into this corner of their corrupted gens that buys space for the other 2 additional teammates to start cranking out those generators. Unfortunately, you are eventually going to go down. That is going to be the case, but it might have been enough time, I would imagine, to at least get close to seeing a generator. If both hitboxes as well as Rocket were split up on 2 separate generators, they might both be getting relatively close. I would expect maybe a little further than that, but a third gen's actually around 50%. So, I mean, give and take, I'd say OBOY's in a pretty decent spot right now.
Absolutely, yeah, a nice triangle around the hook here, not too close, so not as easy for Exize to go for it. Gets the information now by the static blast. 2 survivors left and right of the killer. Is happy to just shock the main building and prevent the survivor to work on it. Every single second is going to work into the advantage of the killer here. LaMagic still injured, so we can tell OBOY is prioritizing the generators here over saving their friends. Exize now expanding the camp a little bit, going for the shocks here and there. So great strategy of keeping an eye on the survivor that is on the hook and also making sure that they are not getting the fastest progress into the generator. The first generator is coming out in the distance. I do feel like if Obi is going to second stage, we should minimum see a second gen.
Yeah, I feel like we aren't too far away from seeing that second one from coming out. There's going to be an M1, which will allow for the save. It is going to cause a trade here. The question is, are you going to at least try and go for the slug? Might be able to at least try and get an M1 on the hitboxes, which would require those resets to take a little bit longer. Doesn't look like that's going to be successful, however, but that second gen has not yet popped. And knowing that both LaMagic and Obi are going to need to reset, you can't help but wonder if they're going to have enough time here. 2 fresh hooks, that's going to be important points as far as for Exize. And it looks like our survivors may even be splitting up here, which could help as far as objective work, but then it comes in, who's safe to come in for a save? If you can only send in 1, are they going to be by themselves? You see at least LaMagic's in chase though.
Yeah, LaMagic here trying to run out. The killer has to take an extra turn because of the shock, and that's going to be a quick down onto him. Exize doing a good job here, is now able also to keep the survivors in a little bit of risk, right? We have 2 injured survivors next to the hooked one, so you have the decision at any point, do we go for a reset, which costs a very big chunk of time, or do we prioritize the generators, but then for the price of taking a little bit of risk here. Still 4 generators. We do see a little bit of regression coming in here, potentially just walking over to kick it, but Hitbox is already moving in, distracting Exize here, so has to go for the shocks around this loop here, but just holding W away. So OBOY finding a good mix also between some risk and staying safe.
Yeah, and this is tough here because it also looks like you were able to turn around just in time. There was a survivor that was trying to sneak their way in towards the unhooks. That means 2 survivors for out the last 20-25 seconds or so, aren't working on gen. We still have yet to see a second gen pop even from the side of OBOY. They're in a really tough spot here, Dyer.
That's what I'm worried about, Q, because we see the great mix and the awareness of risk and safety, right? We see the nice idea of pulling into the safe and then going away when you realize the killer is too close. But what we don't see is progress on the objectives. We are 80% on 1 additional generator here, but if that objective is coming through, that's still not close towards any end game here. So OBOY potentially a little bit too slow onto these objectives. LeMagic is hitting 2nd stage in the distance, so that's going to be Hitbox is now injured as well. We do get a 3rd generator, but everyone injured, unable to set up anything crazy here. So the question for potential reset is becoming louder and louder.
Yeah, I mean, we know that there's a potential of the 2 players that we can't say interrupt, but we were just short of interrupting off of the gen. We were able to get an injure on one of them, so if they were to reset, that's not going to allow anyone to come in for the save here is the other issue. I think OBOY feels like they need to just allow for the sacrifice. You can even see here Rocket attacking the gen in main, but we do see also a 2nd generator elsewhere has quite a bit of progress. They just might have done enough to be able to put that pressure down. They might have been able to really capitalize on that time. It's something that we don't see often, but we are going to be seeing a generator get covered up. I'm not sure if it was the blast that popped up or just because we're, have the backward skill checks on the Merciless Storm, but that does give us a location, and Xi is going to get themselves an early down here after the sacrifice.
That's now going to be the unfortunate down onto Obi here. LeMagic has not been rescued from the hook, and now Hitbox is way too risky with a flashlight coming in. That was not the timing to go for it. Q, you mentioned it. There was one in the main building. There was one over here. No. Both generators hit 85%. I don't think that was the moment for a flashlight save.
Yeah, that definitely was not the move here, and I thought maybe Rocket's location might have been given away there as far as off the door. You can see Obi kind of checking around, making sure no one's in. No pallet save enjoyers here, but I think gonna wait for the static blast. Yeah, that's not gonna show anybody on the screen, so you should be safe for the pickup. Just gonna make sure that there's no one in these lockers as well. You've built up so much pressure. You would hate for something small like this to be such a big counter. You will see though, Rocket should be able to get this 4th gen complete, and that's gonna be very important for OBOY because that does mean that their killer coming out here still has the ability to rely on a 3 gen.
Yeah, now it's all on the shoulders of Rocket here. I still try to figure out why they tried to attempt the flashlight save there. We had 1 block generator, but we had progress on 2 generators, 85%. So it was really good. There was the pallet as well here. So the flashlight save was just a huge risk and it didn't work out, but I don't think it was necessary right there. They do get the 4th generator though, so they are able to pull something here. Rocket, as the last survivor, still trying to decide the game in a better way for Team OBOY. 8 points now, so you could work with a 3 gen on your killer side. Sequence would need to go for all the 5 generators here. They're trying to split up, but it's still very close to turning into a 4K here.
I mean, the good news is you were able to get the other survivor up, right? So you do have that ability to be able to split pressure. Even still at this point, there's a little bit of time left. I don't know if we've got what gen would be our furthest progressed gen, but you could just hold M1, hope that you aren't found, and even crank out that 5th gen, because I feel like that might... What do you think? Would that be a better option than trying to go for... Because you're not going to be able to get the reset before the save, right? So your only thing you'd be doing would be resetting, but I feel like the resetting is buying you precious time that you can pretty well assume your killer's going to be camping the hook.
Yeah, I do think getting the 5th generator at this point would be really amazing, but we do see the unfortunate reality. A lot of progress has dropped. I mean, if you get the 5th generator, that has the consequence of the other team needing an out, right? So Know It, for example, would be a great perk choice. Something end game related would be possible, but with how much risk they took and the high price they paid for it, I don't really see this happening right now. But it all comes down to the question how quickly Rocket, the survivor that actually kept the boy alive, is able to run out here with Excise, and he's doing quite a good job putting him on a good run. That should be the down now, however, so that leaves Hitboxes, the survivor that tried to go for the flashlight saves, with the responsibility,
No,
and it works out. So good news in a bad condition, I would say.
That was huge, big resilience value here as far as from hitboxes to be able to get the last gen complete. You mentioned it, that now forces the win condition that you need to get some stages out the door, right? As far as on the opposite side, you can now rely on endgame perks. That was huge when it looked absolutely devastating. I honestly wasn't even sure if they were going to get a 4th gen complete or a 5th gen complete. Now here we are, and they're making big plays. They're showing some fight here now.
Yeah, this is really strong now. We do see that Hitboxes is also running for his life here in the last seconds of the trial, putting up such a good work. Unfortunately, too risky for with the flashlights. I actually believe there would have been out. So our boy, unfortunately, paying a high price for trying to punish Sequence here. We do see where Rocket is located as well, so I'm not too worried about a potential bleed out there in the back of the wretched shop. So great performance by Sequence once again. Do you think OBOY is coming in with a Know It or a No Way Out to kind of pull something in the end game? Flip-flop.
Yeah, tenacity too. They might wiggle off here. The question is, can they at least buy enough time to where the skill checks are going to be up for hitboxes? Because if they can get wiggled off the shoulder and the hatch comes into play, that would be absolutely huge. Then that would be 2 stages getting out the door. The problem being, even if you wiggle off the shoulder, you are going to need to go on a little bit of a run. There's still probably about 20 seconds still left on that hook timer here. So we are going to see it here. Put me down, Rocket says. Rocket does have some 1v1 experience. If he's really kind of known as one of the 1v1 juicers, maybe you can go on a run here. That would be huge for you, but I don't know how many resources are left. I don't know if the hatch come into play. You also have to worry, even if the second stage is forced, if those skill checks come into play, which would then cause you to actually be able to get access to the hatch, because there's the second stage. Now the timer now actually starts to come into effect, but there's going to be the down. As good of an attempt as it was from Rocket, I'm not sure what resolution y'all are watching this in chat, but that does indeed look like a 4K to me.
That is a 4K indeed. 28 to 10. So OBOY with a great 5th generator after paying a high price. So their killer has the potential for No Way Out, for a no one escapes death. Anything slugging, crazy, turning-ish is possible in the end game. Just a short information to everyone who was interested in why the survivor wasn't dying quicker. Our survivors in DBDLeague are not allowed to Kobe. It doesn't matter if they are successful with it or if they are unsuccessful. Anything that impacts the game would be punished very harshly, so they're just staying on hook. You can miss the skill checks intentionally to die faster, but if you're in first stage, you have to wait it out. That's just for everyone who's interested in the rules a little bit here and there. We are seeing Excise soon on the survivor side, potentially trying to use his experience against the Doctor. I'm hyped to see OBOY on the other side, and we will hop into trial number 8 after a short break.
All right, let's get ready to take one more trip back into the fog here. We're going to be seeing a Rocket out on the Doctor for OBOY, trying to see if they can slow down the squad of Exeyes, iPick, Seth, and Swatter out here for Sequence. They have to complete all of the generators, but when it comes to escaping out the door, it doesn't matter how many stages are left on that survivors. You just need 1 stage out the door. And while I may make that sound like it's quite easy, we'll more than likely see that that's not going to be the case here. Super excited to see if OBOY might have the chance to really turn things around. Feels like the momentum definitely got to be swaying, teetering just a little bit in their favor. The question really becomes, how does this trial on the Wretch shop start? We do see, as far as with the first static blast, we were able to get a couple people tiered up.
Wow.
The only person that we didn't get tiered up was iPick, who decided to jump out of a locker right in front of Rocket here, and we've got ourselves our first chase.
Yeah, very first injury, we were talking about it, right? How important it will be to delay the first down. Now you instantly need a good plan here. You need a teammate sooner or later, because iPic is not going to be able to stay on the longest run here, and that's a... Oh no, actually not going for it. Rocket a little bit too quick here. Now iPic is going to make it. There was the chance to have one of the earliest down in the Doctor matches, and Rocket is not taking advantage of it, allowing iPad to reach to shag even Q. This is such a punishment. There was so much more potential in this.
Yeah, especially because now you know that this hook isn't going to be focused in the middle of the map. Rocket's going to be stuck in a decision here. Do I need to leave the safety of this hook and pressure the gens that I haven't been able to check on? Or do I force a second stage? And it does look like Rocket is, of course, going to have to pressure those gens, knowing the situation, knowing that they have to be able to get everyone at least eliminated before they get out the door to be able to run things back. Preferably, you know what I mean. Preferably, the 5th gen was not popped. So, I mean, Rocket, not the greatest of starts, but still able to bounce back a little bit. You've got a couple of gens around you, not the worst of spots.
Yeah, and I think what you have to focus on is that you had the potential for the quick down, right? You didn't turn it into one, but you had a good strategy in the early game. You found the survivor early, and you are still in a good spot here. However, it looks like 2 generators are actually on the way to go here. iPic has still half of the first stage. That's going to be generator number 1 being completed, and that's going to be now the question what Rocket is going to do. Are we just staying on iPic? That's going to be now the checking if a survivor is coming in, and that's going to be the case. Axize is rotating over. There's now going to be the slowdown generator being touched once again. 90% sequence is on the efficiency run.
Yeah, they're definitely being super efficient as far as the objective here. Rocket gonna make sure that nobody's gonna be able to get this unhook for free, but you'll notice that this hook in the middle of a couple of generators here, so still could be playing the long game here. I think what's important for Rocket right now is you got to keep the mental together. It's okay if those first couple of gens pop. You just can't allow this unhook for free. Looks like that should be the case as long as you can land the static, the shock therapy. That's going to come across. We've got another injured survivor here as well that could cause some issues.
Nice.
This is really well played by Rocket. Unfortunately, though, the unhook does come in. You were able to get an early swing, so that means the borrowed time hit already out of cause. iPic built some distance here. Looks like should be able to hold shift W all the way over here to the bus. Not going to be able to make the window, not going to be able to use the pallet though. Rocket just might be able to capitalize on another fast down, but you need to be able to get back and check in on those gens here super quickly.
Super quickly. Yeah, you need this down basically 15 seconds ago, and there's Nia coming in as well. Seth now taking a hit for the teammate. iPic finding himself in a tunnel situation, but able to drop this pallet as well. Now Rocket trying to go all the way around, but there was a teammate catching that, so the call out onto iPic happened, but not in time. That's going to be the scream back there as well onto the Merciless Storm. That's going to be now the pickup, and that's going to be the kill onto iPic, but we have 4 generators completed at this point, so we do need a ton of work coming out from Rocket in the next 2 minutes here.
Yeah, and the good news for you, if you're the survivors here, is that the 3 gen was broken up with the one that got complete. I mean, that 3rd gen is still kind of close, but it's not as bad as it could be. Unfortunately, though, the reset location was identified here, and you've located 2 separate survivors, both of which are injured. You could potentially build up a little bit of snowball potential here, but the problem is that at TNL you don't have too much to work with. Trying to see if they can use those check spots to at least play this thing right, able to get through the window even with the shock as well. So right now we can see Swatter really bringing out the juice. Should give Excise enough time to get that last gen done, especially with the swing and a miss.
Yeah, this is now, all these seconds are really hurting, and the Doctor actually leaving the chase, realizing it takes too long. That is the worst penalty you can receive as a killer, when you took some time chasing a survivor and then you have to let them go. Not even with the down, not even with slug pressure and the survivors being busy with the pickup. You just have to leave. This pallet is available here as well, so that's going to be a quick kick, and Seth is vaulting into Rocket. That's going to be now a penalty for Sequence. Going to be downed here just in a few seconds, but they are teaming up on that other generator. One survivor just left, already setting up. That's very close now to completion. If they would finish this generator, we need an end game run. Sequence needs to get a little bit of practice onto these skill checks there. That's such a back and forth, right? Both teams are making some mistakes here now, and both are actually punishing each other for it.
Yeah, I think what we saw there actually was the pain resonance came in as the Merciless Storm was proccing, which forced them off of the generator, which then gets you extra value. The only problem, though, is once that gen pops, we gotta remember there is only one stage that needs to get out the door, and the survivor that you're chasing right now is Excise, who has 2 health states left right now. So that means time for someone to move in, get the save right there. Once that generator gets uncovered, they can stop the regression. Now they can get away and get the reset, and that's going to give this team from Sequence here so much control.
That is giving them a ton of control, I have to agree, and I'm still a little bit confused, Q. I was very confident that we will see a no one escapes death, because even though the 5th generator would be just a tie, it would be great to run things back, right? Because OBOY paid the price for the for trying to flashlight save. It would be good to just run it back and have a second chance. I was really confident that we will see something endgame related for a tie. Rocket seemed to choose otherwise, felt very confident to 4K this, but as you mentioned, Sequence now back in control here. They even go for the reset to potentially take an additional hit and make the chases a little bit longer, and this one is not going to end in the down either.
Yeah, and you know, I want to look back at that point though, because knowing that the win condition is what it is, the survivors might have even started pre-cleansing totems if you bring in NOED, right? Where, especially over the course of this trial, we have seen some value from each and every perk thus far here from our killer. I mean, the Sloppy's obviously been giving you some slowdown as far as on the resets. We've seen a couple of Scorch Hooks. The Scorch Hook is actually combined with your Merciless Storm once. I think we also got a Merciless Storm proc without the pain res earlier as well. So you've gotten consistent value. I think it's a little easy for us to obviously try and make that analytic from here, being the ones not playing, but I can't help but wonder if the thought process was, let me try and bring in something that gives me consistent value instead of something that's like last second desperation.
Talking about consistent value, Q, there's the next Merciless Storm in the back of the Wretched shop. So this perk is actually doing a lot of work for our killers today, especially here in this one. Rocket is taking a lot of benefit from bringing this perk. I'm actually really amazed by that. We do see that Swatter is still injured now. Seth is kind of waiting around here, trying to figure out what's the best play, waiting until the survivor and the killer are crossing, but Rocket has more interest in kicking the generator once again. They are standing around, they are trying to watch it a little bit from distance, trying to find the perfect moment to rotate in, and I feel like Sequence still doing a good job on that, but sooner or later they will need some serious pressure to get this final generated.
Here we go. Seth's going to be taking this chase over here at the 4 lane. Going and moving in. That's the 5th gen that gets popped, gets stunned, stupid. Plus 10 wood added to the face here. Remember, only one survivor needs to get out the door with the soul hook state, which means even at this point, the survivors, if they really wanted to, could split pressure on the doors. I do believe we are about to be seeing Sequence wrap up this series. We're about to be seeing OBOY's Winter Circuit coming to a close.
Yeah, OBOY's Winter Circuit on edge here. We would need something absolutely crazy, and Sequence not being able to go out of the door here, which is rather unlikely now. Swatter is taking what's potentially the final chase and choosing once again Rocket. Unfortunately, just hitting the pallet here, not the survivor. The exit door is open, and there's the confirmation with Excise leaving. Sequence is moving into the top 3, playing against the playing against the losing team between Eternal and Singularity, has then the final chance to make it back into the grand final, as this is a double elimination tournament. Congratulations for Team Sequence for an amazing best of 5 performance today, taking it in a 3-1. Congratulations also to Team OBOY. I think we have seen a team where they were not, it was not going according to the plan, it was not going really well, but they have shown an absolute fantastic performance of a comeback.
Yeah, I mean, they really showed a fight. We had talked about if they were going to even get this far, heading into this, like the whole series itself, Dyer. We had talked about they were going to more than likely needed to have won the demo dog set, which they didn't do. Then not only did they not win the demo dog, they also incurred a penalty. They lost a player who was actually the killer that would have been coming out in set number 3. And even despite through all that, really fought all the way until the end. And I don't think the 43-27 really shows how much of a fight they gave.
Yeah, absolutely. They can be proud, and they have proven why they are known to be very, very known for their surprises and their 180 turns. Let's talk real quick about the upcoming weekend, ladies and gentlemen. We have Eternal and Singularity